Hey guys, sorry it has been a while since I've shown my face around here, but if you're watching this video then you can kind of probably gather that there's a reason for that, and that is what I want to talk about today. It's itching me. Do you guys remember when ponchos were a thing, by the way? I found this at a car boot the other day. It's all tassely, it's very me, and it is the comfiest thing ever. And I thought it was perfect for this video because I can just wrap up in it like a little blanket and have my little safety net, you know, my comfort while I was talking about this sensitive subject. So, I am going to be talking about my experience of a miscarriage. This is, of course, just my experience, and it obviously affects people differently. Like, people have different symptoms, people have different experiences. So, this isn't in any way kind of like a how it should be or whatever. This is just what I went through, and hopefully that will offer a little bit of support and insight to anyone else who might be going through this. I know when I found out I was having a miscarriage, I felt so lost, and like I had nobody to speak to, because I don't really have friends anyway, but somebody that was like, you know, going through it the same as what you're going through right now, not having anybody to really connect with, obviously other than my partner. So I found myself searching, I was Googling about miscarriages, and I was writing on Mumsnet to speak to other women who were having the same experience as me. And then I was kind of searching YouTube, and I was watching other people's videos about their experience, and I just found that really helpful to kind of not feel alone, and to perhaps understand a little bit of what was actually physically happening to my body whilst trying to process the emotional side of it as well. So I just wanted to record my own video about my own experience, and kind of, you know, maybe be one of those resources for somebody else that's going through it too. So also I will get a little bit into like details, so if you're not comfortable hearing about I don't know, like losing blood and like clots and things like that, then perhaps this is not the video for you. Okay, so I found out that I was having a miscarriage on the 1st of October, so that was a Friday. But I will go back to the beginning because it starts actually a couple of days before that, on a Wednesday. So on Wednesday, I woke up bleeding in the middle of the night. It actually woke me up. So I woke up at about 1:30 in the morning, and it was literally like, you know, kind of what you see on TV, where I put my hand down there and pulled out blood, and I was like, oh shit. So I got up. I went to the toilet, I messaged my partner, and I was like, shit, I'm bleeding, I think I'm having a miscarriage. Bear in mind, this isn't anything that I've been through before, so it was all very new to me, and I was, obviously your mind goes to the worst, but you don't really know what's going on. So I called 111, which is the like UK out hours. Oh, sorry, this is really irritating me. I'm really sensitive to labels. And I told them what was happening, and they said that they would call me the next day to book a scan. They were quite reassuring on the phone though. I was asked about if I was having any pain or if I was losing any blood clots, and both of which I wasn't experiencing, and it was kind of told to me that it sounded like it was just normal first trimester bleeding, like perhaps some leftover period or something, but it sounded reassuring because I wasn't having any worrying symptoms to go with the bleeding. So Thursday morning I got a phone call first thing, and they booked my scan for the Friday morning because they didn't have anything sooner than that. So I kind of got on with my day. I hadn't been bleeding since that bit in the night. It was kind of like one gush of blood, but it wasn't like continuous. And then on the Thursday during the day, I had a family meal to go to, so I went to that on the Thursday. I think it was about 12:30, and by the end of that I had started bleeding again. So I went and picked the kids up from school. I got home, I'd done their dinners, and then I called the midwives because I wasn't too sure what to do at this point. My mum said to just go to like A&E, but I'm one of them people that's very much like, oh no, I don't want to waste anyone's time, even if it's something that I probably should do. I always feel like there's more important people to help. So I rang the midwives and I told her what happened. I said, I don't really know what to do. Should I call back 111 or should I go to A&E? And she said, just go to A&E. So I did that. Me and Mac went to A&E, and they didn't really do much while I was there because I already had the scan booked for the Friday. So she did my blood pressure and did a pregnancy test in my urine sample, and it came back as pregnant. So it seemed like good news and everything seemed positive. So by this point, I wasn't actually worrying a huge amount. My initial panic of, oh my God, I'm losing this baby, kind of subsided from the positive reassurance. Not that that's anybody's fault. I'm not placing any blame on them or anything. I'm just saying that it made me feel a lot calmer, and I did actually think that perhaps everything was okay and it was just some normal, or not normal, but just like harmless bleeding. Some other explanation. So I went back home. We went back on the Friday morning. My scan was at 10 o'clock. And I had an ultrasound across my stomach. I had an internal ultrasound as well, and that was when I was told, or we were told, that our baby was no longer alive. So I was certain of my dates. I knew that I should have been 8 weeks that Saturday, so the next day, and she told me that the baby was showing to be at 5 weeks old. And at first I was a bit confused because I know that the heart starts beating around that kind of time or just before then. And I was asking, have I got my dates wrong then? Like, does that mean that the heart is going to beat? I wasn't ultimately sure. And then I just had to ask her, like, are you saying that the baby's not alive? And she said, yeah. So that sucked. That was horrible. And I think the worst part about that actual moment was we saw the baby on the screen, and I, at that point, didn't expect to really see that much in an ultrasound so early on. But I could quite clearly see where the baby was, and inside the sac, and then inside my womb. And that's an image that is very pressed into my mind. And it's a horrible thought to think that what I saw was my dead baby and not my living baby with a heartbeat and the sounds that you're meant to hear and whatever. So, yeah, that was horrible. And the thing also that was really upsetting about that was that I'd obviously been carrying around the baby thinking everything was okay. But it wasn't. And the funny thing about that is that I was growing quite quickly because this wasn't my first pregnancy. Obviously, I was stretched before. This was pregnancy number 3 for me, so I showed fast, and I've even got like pictures of my bump. And so yeah, it was obvious, unless I was wearing like something quite baggy, that I was pregnant. And I actually remember feeling like a little bit off the past, I don't know how long leading up until finding this out, but I remember looking at myself and thinking, I'm not actually, I don't feel like I've grown much in the past, like, I don't know, week or two. I think that was literally just like a passing thought, because I remember putting it off to myself like, oh well, it's just initial bloating and then the rest will carry on over time. So yeah, it was weird that a part of me had kind of had that feeling, but I didn't associate that with, oh, I'm going to have a miscarriage or something. I just remember thinking, oh, I haven't grown. But anyway, after we were told that we were going to have another scan in a week's time, and if the baby hadn't come away by itself, then I had the option of having a surgery or taking a pill to kind of just start getting the baby out of my body. And that was it really. We left, and I cried a lot, a huge amount. And I feel bad because on that Friday it was my youngest daughter's birthday party after school, and I couldn't go. I just could not stop crying. And even when I went to go and pick them up from school, their dad had to go in because he was down there anyway. So he had to go and get them and bring them to me because I just couldn't get out the car because I just couldn't stop. All I could do was cry. And it sucked. It was really bad. So anyway, the next day, on the Saturday, I started having pains which were basically contractions. Obviously not at the higher end of the scale where you're kind of screaming because you're pushing out a full-size baby, but definitely contractions that hurt a lot. And I didn't take any painkillers at this point because I felt like I needed to feel it, like I wanted to feel this pain because that was like the last bit of connection I was going to have with this baby, was losing the baby. And I remember thinking, like, how do I know? Obviously they say like you'll lose some clots, but I thought it was just going to be like small lumps, like when you get like a lumpy period sometimes. And I went to the toilet, and I remember feeling quite shocked because I sat down and just felt like this huge golf ball just come out, and I kind of just sat there in shock for a minute and was like, oh my God. And it was really surreal to think, oh well, that's it, that's my baby's gone. And it was really upsetting. I was really upset because it just seemed like over so quickly, like it was nothing, and it wasn't nothing because that was our child. So anyway, throughout the rest of that day, I continued to lose those large golf ball clots, and again, you have no idea what's normal. You don't have like a reference to compare this to, and be like, oh, that's one too many, or this is how much you're supposed to have, or whatever. But over the course of like the next week, I continued to lose quite a large amount of like heavy clotting, noticeable clotting, and then it slowly decreased. And in total, I bled for about 3.5 weeks, and I stopped bleeding about a week and a half ago. So yeah, that's that. But as I say, I was very lost when it happened because I just didn't know where to turn, or like I didn't want to reach out to like counsellors or anything like that. I don't have a good relationship with counsellors. I told my therapist what had happened, but I was kind of just not really wanting to speak to anybody, or I just wanted to kind of, be on my own, I guess, just kind of shut down. And fast forward to now, I am doing better emotionally. Time as it passes, I guess, obviously it makes things not necessarily heal, but easier to think about and talk about. So I can talk about it now without having a ginormous breakdown, even though it's still quite recent and I do definitely still get upset about it. I'm able to speak about it openly because I'm quite open anyway, aren't I? And I do speak openly about hard things, whether it's this or other things in my life. So what else about the whole journey? I think the blame is something that you don't expect to come so fast. The very moment that it happened and that I found out, I thought, what have I done? what did I do wrong to cause this to happen? Was it the fact that I lifted some heavy stuff, and I did lift some heavy things? Or was it the fact that I had that sip of alcohol when I wanted to taste this new rum that my partner bought? So there was all these little things that I could be thinking, was this what caused it? Is that what caused it? And really, you're just not going to know. I had absolutely no idea how common miscarriage is. I had no idea that it's like 1 in 4 pregnancies. That's a really, really high number. That is a huge amount to think of. Like 4 pregnancies, you see like more than 4 friends a year get pregnant. So if you look at that and think it's, you know, oh, that person, or that person, one of them's going to lose the baby. Even if it's not necessarily one of those 4, but that's how you can break it down. And that's crazy. I just didn't know that it was that high. And you think that this is something that's not going to happen to me. You know, I have 2 healthy, happy young children. Well, not young now, kind of. But I have 2 daughters. And so I thought, yeah, I can carry. I have 2 healthy children. I've had healthy pregnancies, healthy births. Everything's going to be absolutely fine. This isn't something that I need to worry about at all, even though it does go on your mind. But I think, yeah, really, it's not going to happen to me. I've got 2 others. This is just going to be like them. And when it wasn't, I kind of couldn't really believe it. Like, no, surely that's wrong. Can you check again? You know, that's not right. That's not meant to happen to me. But really, it's so common that it's probably happened to like half of the people that you know. And that's really upsetting. It is upsetting, but you just don't realise that you're not alone in this until you go through this and find out about how many people have had this experience. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think about what else has kind of come up through this. There is one thing, I watched a video by somebody else, and she talked about being really upset but also being grateful to her body for realising that something must have been wrong, and like with the pregnancy, and for naturally taking care of that. And I thought that was quite an interesting angle. I can't remember her name now. I thought that was quite an interesting perspective to have, because obviously it's a horrible thing and I'm very upset by it. I am also really grateful that it was when it was and not a lot later on where I would have had to like birth the child or something. I can't imagine going through that, and I think that would have been torture. But at the same time, I remember feeling, and I do still feel, really upset that there's just nothing left to show for the pregnancy and for the baby. I have the pregnancy tests, but there's nothing to bury, there's nothing to keep. And I still see it, even though it was early on, I still see that as our child that we lost. I have 2 children that are here, and I have a child that I didn't get to meet and will hopefully get to meet on another plane of existence. But and I think that that's something that's quite important to remember, is that your feelings are valid even though it's early on. Because I remember thinking, oh, it doesn't sound that bad. You know, when you say, oh, I miscarried at 8 weeks, well, 5 weeks, but it was 8 weeks. And somebody even said to Mac, oh yeah, but it wasn't really a baby though, was it? Like that early on. And I just find that really invalidating, although you may not mean it in that certain way, but that just makes you feel like you're heartbroken over nothing, and it wasn't nothing. That was our life and our child. Even though you try to not get too excited until you reach a safety point of 12 weeks, you can't help it. You still think about, am I having a boy or a girl? Or, you know, which of our chosen names is it going to be? And what are they going to look like? Are they going to look more like me or more like you? And you can't help having that little journey that goes on in your mind. So to have it kind of shrunken down to, yeah, it was early on, doesn't really count, is really shitty and really upsetting. So I think that's one of the main things that I really want to stress, is that no matter if it's 5 weeks, 10 weeks, 15 weeks, you are absolutely entitled to grieve and to be broken and feel hurt and angry and upset and all of those things. You're allowed to feel that, no matter when it was, because that was still your child. Other than that, I don't think there's anything that I've missed off. Like I said, I think things are all right at the minute. The only thing that I find upsets me is like random triggers. Like a lady in front of me in Superdrug was buying a pregnancy test and that upset me. Or I was watching like a documentary and they found out they were pregnant and I was like, just a bit shit. But onwards and upwards now, I suppose. On to trying again and hoping that everything goes to plan and goes well next time and is healthy and stress-free. So yeah, that's it. That is our story, or my story. And if you are watching this and you've been through it, I am really sorry for your loss, genuinely, because it hurts and it sucks. And just let yourself feel what you need to feel, and yeah, get through it whatever way you can, really, and hopefully it will have a better ending if you're going to try again. Okay, that's it. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching and for listening, and I hope it didn't gross you out with too much information. Alright, bye.